Hi everybody, welcome to Meet Your Watershed. I'm Cathy Grant and we're here at the California State University-Chico at the Gateway Science Museum. We're going to meet with Sean Neese, Dr. Cathy Busby, Janine Jacinto, and a few of her students. And we're here to look at the fossils that have come out of the Mokelumne River Watershed. Welcome to Fossils 2.0. So we're here with Sean Neese now. Tell me what you do.
Yeah, so I work with Chico State and the Gateway Science Museum in charge of all of the fossils that come from the Mokelumne Watershed, from our big Miocene zoo.
So this is it. This is the mother lode of all of the fossils that you found, they found, Greg's found, Ranger Greg has found.
Exactly.
Amazing.
And so the dozens of people that, help get it out of the ground and get it transported, they bring it here. And what we do is we open up what we call these jackets. So a lot of times they're duct tape and tin foil, sometimes they're plaster. What we do is we carefully remove the rock that surrounds the fossils that we call the matrix. And we get those samples prepped and ready for either exhibit or to send to a museum for research or eventual storage.
So this is how you found it?
This is how we found it in the ground, yeah.
Amazing. So will you show us how to prepare them? I brought some students.
Absolutely.
All right, let's go do it.
So Sean, show us what you're going to do here.
Yeah, so this is an example of one of the fossils that we get from the site. And what we do is we want to clean off all of the dirt and the rock that surrounds it, and also preserve it. As you can see, there's lots of cracks and things on it. And so we use our dental picks and our brush here to apply the boot var. We use our rubbing alcohol to remove any of the dirt and help loosen stuff up. And then the boot var here is how we preserve it. And essentially what we want to do is use a little bit of our rubbing alcohol, and we'll apply that in here so that we can loosen up some of that dirt. And we will take our dental picks and we will slowly and carefully scrape away that dirt. And then when we get some area exposed, and once we've cleaned everything off, we use our boot var, and we just apply a little bit of the boot var and use our brush here to spread that out so that we can coat all of the fossil, and it seeps into the fossil and it helps preserve it.
And Elle, when you were doing an article for the Mokelumne Current, you were interested in learning more about the boot bar. What did you find?
I found out that it's a mix of acetone, which is basically what people use to remove nail polish off of their nails. So
Yeah,
I just found that interesting.
Yeah. Would you like to give it a try?
Sure.
Okay. So all you're going to do is just take the bottle and apply a little bit of the solution right here. Use your brush and paint it around. If it's really thick, you can use a little bit of the rubbing alcohol to thin it out.
How can you tell if the boot bar is thick?
It'll come out pretty much like a glue. If it doesn't want to kind of drip down here, then you need to thin it out a little bit, but if it starts moving, it should be fine.
Okay, so just like a little drop is fine?
Yeah, a little drop. So it looks pretty good. You can just paint it around now. Yeah. And you'll notice that that solvent evaporates really quickly, and you won't even notice that the plastic's on it.
Should I keep?
Yeah, do that until it's pretty much all spread out.
Okay.
All right, very nice. Oh, you can just set it down. Yeah, and you can see here, it's kind of shiny right now, but as it evaporates, it'll look like this, where it just looks like regular bone, a regular fossil.
Sean has shown us how to preserve, or how to clean and preserve a fossil. Dr. Busby, would you talk to us about how to date a fossil?
Okay, well, I was seeing in the news all these reports about this big fossil find in the Sierra Nevada. And I've been working in the Sierra Nevada on the geology my whole career. And I kept seeing that it was 5 million years old, 10 million years old. And so I emailed Russ Shapiro because I knew him from long ago. And I said, what is the exact age? And he said, we don't really know. We don't have any way of getting an exact age yet. So I arranged to come out and have a look. And I was very, very surprised and very happy to discover that the fossil beds are full of pumice. So, pumice. Do you know what pumice is? Yes? So it's a very frothy volcanic rock. And it's all full of gas bubbles. In fact, it's so full of gas bubbles that it floats in water. So, the good thing about pumice is that you can use radiometric dating on pumice. So you can separate out minerals that are in the pumice and use a radiometric age dating technique to determine exactly when that pumice erupted from a volcano and flowed down the river to get deposited with the fossils, with the bones and the wood. And then the other thing about pumice is that it really explains why the fossils are so well preserved and why the wood is so nicely petrified. Because the pumice is full of silica. It's mostly made of silica. And when it gets buried, you can dissolve the silica out of the pumice and then precipitate it into the bones and the wood, and it preserves it perfectly. So it's a double whammy. It's why the fossils are preserved, and it's a way to date the fossils exactly.
Dr. Busby, how old is the Mokelumne watershed?
Well, that's a very interesting question, and people have been working on that for well over a century, trying to figure that out. So if you look at the Sierra Nevada today, the mountain range is a block that's tilted toward the west, and all of the rivers run from east to west with a big fault on the east side. So the rivers have their head at the crest. But if you could see the Sierra Nevada 50 million years ago, there was no fault here, and instead the rivers went all the way back into Nevada. So the heads of the rivers were in central Nevada, and they drained all the way across what's now the Sierra Nevada into the Central Valley. So the watershed is actually about 50 million years old, which is very, very old for a watershed.
And Dr. Busby, where does pumice come from?
Well, the pumice came from explosive eruptions at a volcano. And we know that there were a line of volcanoes along the highest part of the Sierra Nevada. And when they erupt, they would feed material into these ancestral river valleys, what we call paleo valleys. So what I've shown here is the Mokelumne Paleo Valley, but there was a whole series of others. And the pumice came down from those volcanoes in the river. So this drawing, it's like a cross-section, which a lot of people don't know how to think about it, but if you took a slice through the river sediment, the Paleo River sediment, and saw how it filled up. This is the river valley, a slice through it, and then the fill is shown here. And the red star shows you where the fossil locality is. So it was deposited in this Paleo River Valley. And then the next thing that happened was uplift of the Sierra Nevada began, and because of that, the river cut way down through the Paleo River deposits, deeper into the bedrock underneath them. So now the fossils are up on the side of the valley. The lake actually Comanche's in here, and you go further up, there's a deep canyon, and the fossils are on the side in the Paleo River deposits. So it's a history that shows how long the river has been there and also what kind of tectonic events have affected it, volcanic events and tectonic events. This beautiful mural in the Gateway Museum gives you an idea of what the Mokelumne River drainage looked like in the Miocene. As you can see, it's very lush. There is grassland and forest, so that means there can be really a diverse array of types of animals. You can see the river going through the middle there. And because it was so lush, there were really big animals, including these camels that look like giraffes and other huge animals, but just a lot of fossils in one location.
Why do you call it the Miocene Zoo?
Well, because it's Miocene and because it is such an incredibly rich deposit of fossils of really big, bizarre animals. And so I made up that name, Miocene Zoo.
And so that's a good time to show you some of those large beasts that roamed the Mokelumne Watershed. For example, this here is one of our mastodon pieces. So this is the skull of a mastodon with the nice, beautiful 6-foot-long tusks. And right next to it here, we have the mandible of what's known as a gomphothere.
So what's the difference?
So the difference between a mastodon and a gomphothere is that mastodons, actually, they had 4 tusks. So you think of proboscideans as having the 2 big tusks. Gomphotheres had 2 additional tusks that came out of their lower jaw.
Wasn't that amazing? I really enjoyed myself. I want to thank all of who helped today happen, especially the Gateway Science Museum. And what's it all about? It's about learning more about our watershed so that we can take better care of it. Because what you don't know, you can't protect. See you next time around the watershed.